I don't really need to work to live. I live to work.
All right, welcome to episode 107. Zoe Abbott talking about financial stuff today on the Combine. Want to give you guys a little bit better or more diverse situation with what your business situation is as a musicpreneur. As you guys know, my day job is being a financial advisor. Most of my clients are in the music field, whether they're touring or musicians. Touring musicians. And now's the time I think we really need to kind of address some things, and us being of service to our audience. We decided to bring Zoe on the show today. This is not going to be a great musical episode per se, but we are going to talk a little bit about her musical career because she is a musician herself, and it's some relatable stuff that I think you guys can apply to your daily routine in your finance. And not the opinions of the show or its hosts. So with that said, the downer shit's out of the way. Zoe Abbott, enter the room, my dear. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be invited.
It's always good to have one of my bros, even though you're a girl, on the show, and it's always a fun time when you are around. So I'm so glad you're here. Just, I know your background quite in depth, but you've come up in this financial world. You have a rising star in that department, in the sense that you went from 0 to 50 to 100 in quite a short period of time. With being entrepreneurs, with being someone who's extremely successful at what you do, you have other passions such as music and stuff like that. But what was kind of your key to success moving in that direction?
Well, I think every individual is always somewhere in their journey on personal growth and development. I was very fortunate to have worked in the nonprofit and counseling background for over 10 years before I got into finance. And so I feel like I learned a lot about relationships and people and care and communication and that very strong desire to help people. I had a very strong work ethic before coming in as well, which has a lot to do with my upbringing and, the industry that I was in prior to this. And that is actually, it's really funny because we looked at what are the key things that really make me different or stand out versus, some other person. And, the majority of my clients would say that the reason they like working with me is that they feel that I'm caring. And that is not something that a lot of people end up usually feeling when they're working with a financial consultant, advisor, anyone really. So I would say that really comes from my background in nonprofit. I've never been a money motivated person. And I'm also very, everyone, it's really good to have money. It's good to be in that situation. And I'm very fortunate that I have created a life where I'm not really dependent on my finances or income because I've set it up the way that I have. And so it really allows me to just be very passionate about what I do. And, from the 10 years that I worked in counseling, the two main areas that people have the biggest pain, sadness, upset, trouble, problems are sex and relationships and finance. These are they'll talk about it all day long. It ruins their life. Number one reason that people get divorced or break up have usually to do with finance. Number one reason for suicide or depression, usually to do with finance. And so I already knew before I came into this industry that this was an area that I could make a big difference in. And it's an area that people don't get educated in at school. They don't get help. They get terrible advice and they have terrible examples around them to take from. So that's kind of where, I kind of came into this.
This is good. So let me ask you this. Based on those two areas that you just conveyed to us, when you're having a conversation with somebody that's just a completely new person that you met through a social media or the referral would be best, but either or, listening's always half the battle. And if you're listening and you're not manipulating the conversation, but does it come to those two topics, any of those two topics? I mean, finance, obviously you're talking to the person, right? And then you kind of hear them out. And then because of your background, it just falls into place. You don't even really have to sell anything. They're like, okay, so what's your packages and tell me what to do here. I mean,
I actually feel like I'm in the least salesy type of situation.
Totally.
It doesn't feel like that at all, because you do not need to sell people on how to make money with their money, how to save their money, how to have money and pay less in taxes. Like, people want to do that. They just need to be educated, and they just need to know that they're dealing with someone that they can trust and that has their best interests in mind, and they're going to get a good feeling. And people are smart to some degree. And I am genuine, and I legit want to help them, and I don't have ulterior motives. I don't really need to work to live. I live to work. So it's a different scenario.
Mm.
And I think one of the reasons that Mike asked me to be on the show is that I really am who I am. Like, you can see, if you go onto my Instagram, my social media, I show every part of my life. There's what you see is what you get, really.
Yeah.
Love
It's
it.
interesting. It's with the current climate with COVID and riots and whatever else you want to throw into the mix of the political and viral milkshake. I heard something on an NPR show last night about how lack of education in actual finances led to someone's death. And I want to go back to that point of, you talked about sex and finances are two of the biggest things in a relationship. I guess this story was a case of the gentleman was using Robinhood app and basically didn't realize that he didn't lose hundreds of thousands of dollars that he supposedly thought he did, and killed himself.
Oh, how
Which is
wonderful.
very interesting. So my question to you, Zoe, is this. Um, do you lead with education first?
100%.
100%, right?
100%. Like, even now with everything, we've had to evolve a lot, because I think before COVID, we were doing a lot more in person. Now we have to do a lot of video conferences and Zoom and different things like that. But what's really awesome is that I'll actually get on the computer with my clients, design their products with them, make sure that they actually understand them. And that's the biggest thing in financial planning. Like, if you can create the most amazing financial plan, but if the person doesn't understand or follow it, it's all for nothing.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, as a counselor, my sole purpose, like the only thing that I was there to do, was to make someone feel better and be happier. Their life they need to be advancing towards more happiness, achieving their goals, and feeling like they're accomplishing something in their life. That was my sole purpose as a counselor. And so now that I'm in finance, my sole purpose is to raise their general happiness level in their life and on finances. And one of the things that I get really frustrated with sometimes, when I see, and I follow like some really big influential financial people, like really well-known people, and I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to attack anyone, but I find that most people in our industry are trying to shrink people's goals and dreams to fit their reality, and I'm completely the opposite. I want to increase someone's reality to actually fit their goals and dreams. And so the first thing that I ask about is, like, what are you trying to do? What do you want in the next 1 to 3 years? What do you want in the next 3 to 5 years? What do you want in the next 5 to 7 years? And instead of being like, I'm sorry, you can't do that because you don't make enough money, I will tell them what they have to do to be able to achieve that, and give them the real targets and goals, the real reality on what they need to do. Like, I'm not going to name a name, but there are some financial people that are like, you can feed your family on $50 a week. And I'm literally like, go fuck yourself. Really? Like, that's not how anyone wants to live. Like
first
they do not need to eat beans and rice, you
first
know?
And I think I know who you're talking about, and he's my least favorite motherfucker in the world.
I mean, seriously, like that doesn't help anyone. That doesn't make them happier. You know, they need to know, okay, you want, this is what you want. This is the lifestyle you want. Like, okay, fine. So I'll tell people, I'm like, okay, good. Your Starbucks bill is, if you would reinvest that, you would probably be at like $300,000 conservatively over the next 30 years. But I don't do that to tell them not to buy Starbucks or buy the things that they want or, you know, pay for these things. They're niceties. It's quality of living for them. Fine. But all I try to do is like, you should know where your money is going and how it's affecting you so you can make positive choices. And you cannot give me an excuse that you can't put that same $5 away on top of that, basically.
Sure.
So I'm about abundance and adding versus cutting back and subtracting and making the person smaller and smaller, because that's the opposite direction you want people to go. And I feel like people get annoyed and they don't want to work with financial advisors and people because it's all about shrinking instead of expansion. And so I feel like I think and operate completely differently in the opposite direction. And that's why a lot of my clients want to work with me. I have clients that range from 15 days old to 80, you know, and everything in between, you know.
Tap into that really quick, because you said something, as I'm not in financial plan. My brother's actually works for Ameriprise. So
Okay.
he says it's like watching paint dry, but he does very well for himself, and he cares about people, and that's the most important thing for him. However, I, as an outsider, looking, into personal development, right, and wanting to do better in finances myself, take an interest on the things I can control. And you said Starbucks coffee, which is so important. People don't realize if they subsidize certain things that they would spend a little bit of money on every day, and they just go and buy coffee and they make it at home, how much money they will actually fucking save.
Yeah.
For myself, like I used to go to get Dunkin' Donuts all the time. In once in a while, too, but the thing is, now I drink Road Dog, right? But that's still not expensive either, and it lasts a lot longer.
Our sponsor, Rock.
Right. Oh, but I do, because I buy coffee at the store, so I might as well buy from our sponsor. But the other thing is this: it's twofold. It's like, okay, I could still drink coffee, get the same effect, and I could take that money and put it aside towards advertising, and building my business, or towards investing it with an app or something, but talking to somebody and going, okay, if I took $4, $5 a day that I spent, where am I putting this? And then cut back on certain things that I just don't need to be spending money on. There's more things, think about the money you save. I was going to say this too, going back, you're doing virtual conversations now with people. I think you would be able to get a lot more done now that you don't have to go drive everywhere. And just,
yeah, I mean, yeah, and I would just definitely say I'm expanding. I'm looking for people to train at this point because there's more than I can possibly handle. And it's good to be in a services recession-proof business, and that's really what I am, But yeah, it's amazing. And like I said, I'm not here to tell people not to have nice things. My thing is, a lot of people don't realize that they're bleeding in places that they don't care actually that much about. And it's true that $5 a day, invested conservatively, could get you $500,000 in the next 30 years. And most people in this country with like $500,000 well invested can have a comfortable retirement lifestyle. Most people. It really, everyone's different, because like they're like what some people, how big their lifestyle is going to be different one to the next. But like your average person retiring with that amount with a paid off mortgage or something is, they're fairly comfortable. And that's $5 a day, And when people say, they've never been able to save or whatever, it's not really true. They're just lying to themselves, But it's just like, it's teaching people, because most people, the first thing they lack is education, understanding. But then the next thing is that they need a coach, or they need, just like you need a personal trainer. You know what I mean? It's like, if you want to be wealthy, or you want to be rich is different than wealthy. But if you want to be wealthy, you have to create wealthy habits. Just like if you want to stay in awesome peak condition and shape, you have to continue to do those things that help you to do that. You could be an Olympic athlete one year, but if you let yourself go, you're going to, not stay in that condition. So it's the same thing with finance. And I think correlating those two they're very similar things. They're just in different areas, you know.
Yeah.
I have full reality on that side of things for myself. So
Nobody wants to work out with a personal trainer that's not in shape. And I can tell you that firsthand, where they would approach me at the gym and I'm like, dude, I'm lifting 400 pounds and don't even tell me not to slam the weights, because there's no way that thing's not going to make noise when it hits the ground. So get out of my face. And when I did start going, and I need to go again because everything's closed. But the thing is, in everything I've ever wanted to, pursue, it's been wanting to work with the best person that's really successful at it. And that's the way it should go for everybody. So like, if it comes down to financial, information that I need and a coach, I'm going to go to somebody that's really good at it and somebody that's doing it, So I think that speaks volumes. And then I'm going to pivot this a little bit towards our audience. And then not only that, it's just the fact that musicians and artists in general don't really focus on these types of things. We're very introverted and kind of just keep to ourselves. We don't even look into things like that. And I think Mike, what he did, which was impressive, was kind of brought that to light to these, to the network of people that are really good at what they do. And they're famous people in our industry. And he's like, hey, listen, have you ever thought about this? And they're like, well, yeah, so he actually parlayed his financial, knowledge into helping the community that he is passionate about. And that's the interconnection here that I think is the resonance. It's going to resonate with people. So my question to you is, as well, is let's go kind of into the music thing, where you're an artist yourself, and how doing that, and you're passionate about it, and how you kind of tie these things together, and just being you and just putting it out there. And by the way, I saw your cover. It's really good.
Okay, well, I actually want to take it back a little bit, because I was like thinking, one of the things I was telling you about my nonprofit background, right? But how I grew up, right? So I was raised mostly by a single dad. And this also has a lot to do with why I got into finance as a priority, is that he was an entrepreneur, and I literally watched him go through 3 bankruptcies. And then he passed away of a stroke when he was 52 years old, of his 3rd bankruptcy. And I was like, I never want someone to ever have to go through that. He also he never put life insurance in place. He never did estate planning. So it was like horrible. And luckily I was an adult. I was in my 20s, early 20s. I'm not that old, but it was like, it was a few years ago. And the thing is that his wife was 5 months pregnant, and they had a 5-year-old kid. And I can talk about it now without going into tears, because I've had a lot of counseling on it. But, it was just so like, that's kind of where I'm coming from. But now on the other side is my mom, is actually a performing arts teacher. And she did musical theater while I was growing up. So she's very talented, and she's done tons of off-Broadway shows. And that was like, she actually got pregnant with me while she was doing Sweeney Todd. So my love of music and singing and all that stuff came when I was a kid, and I always had a lot. And to be honest with you, and we can go over this because there's so many facets. I mean, I think everybody has so many things about them that are very interesting when you really dig in. But, I always had such a love for it, but I was such an introverted kid, and I battled with my weight my whole life. And so I was very overweight, very, very, I actually lost 130 pounds this year. Thank you.
She's been boosting it.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother subject for another, maybe later. But anyway, so I never felt that I could do it, but I always loved to do it. And it was starting to handle this area that increased my confidence. And I just decided, like, it's the funniest thing that happened. I've built this really successful business. I'm probably going to be close to 7 figures this year in my income. And, and I've been successful. I've been making a really good income for several years now. And so I've managed to be successful, even though I was over 300 pounds and totally introverted and felt horrible about myself and felt sick and pain every day. And like I was like judged, and people, would look at me and just see that I don't have my stuff together, and my health was really like not looking good. I'm young, so luckily I didn't have like any major things yet, but I knew that like if I didn't do something about this, I wouldn't be long for this world, right? I didn't want to be like my dad who passed away. He wasn't even overweight, to be honest with you. He was a skinny guy, but
Stress.
I was just like, I don't want to be like that. But okay, so the weirdest thing happened. We were having a Christmas party and there was a karaoke, and I just was like, oh my gosh, I haven't sung in public since I was like 14 years old or something, in a school performance. And I just went up and I did a song, and it was like, it went down so well. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I absolutely loved the way that felt. I was like, that feeling of entertaining people and connecting with people and them enjoying it. And it's literally the most addictive feeling in the world. Like there's nothing better than that, like genuine connection between another person where you can make them feel something positive, right? And then I was like, maybe I should just go and record it. So then I have money. I got money. I got time. Let me just go do it, right? So I did that, and that was really well received. And then I was like, So I started working on this song that I really love, which is the cover that you have. So it's Rise Up by Andrew Day, and it's a beautiful song, beautiful message. And I decided I was going to just take it to the studio and do a cover. And then COVID happened. And I was like, well, actually, this is like super applicable to what's happening right now. So I just had my buddy get some B-roll footage, and, which was very emotional. And it really helped, I think, with the message of the song. Instead of making it about me and just me on the video, it was actually mostly footage of, everything that's going on, like between, like internationally, and I dedicated it to medical workers and stuff like that. And honestly, I have a lot of clients that are front lines, nurses in New York, because I have clients all across the country, And so for them, I even featured one of my clients in the video. I had her send me photos and footage, to be honest with you. So that's like legit valid stuff. And so I released it, and I was scared. I had no idea how I was gonna, but I was like, okay. And it wasn't perfect. And I do think I'm decent talent-wise, but I'm not professional, trained, or anything. And there were parts that I was like, okay, maybe that's, like from a professional standpoint. And Mike will tell you, because I'm my own worst critic. But I was like, you know what? Fine. I'm just going to put it out. And it just went amazing. Like I had over 1.2 million views on Facebook. And it was the first time I ever, really like released something. And I had
dive into that for a sec, because this something, the anatomy of that process. Taking the idea is great. Taking your knowledge of who you know, how you feel, and incorporating it into using the song and giving back to the community and being able to add value and showing the care that you have for the compassion you have for the community is fucking genius. So then when you did the video and you decided to put it out, the marketing strategy behind that, tell us a little bit about that. Did you put a Facebook ad out that drove people to your YouTube? How did you set that up?
Okay, so it's really funny because I did all this through friends and clients. Okay, so I have a client who's also a friend of mine, and he was like, oh, I love your video. Let me do this. So I spent like $200 or $300, and he tested out a couple of like clickbaity type of things, and he tested it internationally. And so it was like $200 or $300, right? And then he basically came back with, well, the line that most of these people will click on and actually, watch it was something. I think you're gonna have to look at it because it's on, but it's like, I cried while making this video, watch the first blah, 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 see why. And that one, so he tested like 3 or 4 or 5 different.
Here, is it dedicated to, in the title, to the brave medical workers working to the end. So I think that, is definitely something that had.
I wrote the message because it was from me, and it needs to say genuine, but like the first line was like, he tested out a couple of different ways for me to communicate that. And so that's the one that we took. And that's the one that had the best response, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it was shared, I don't know if it was shared like 4,000 or 5,000 times or something.
That is astounding. That's awesome.
Yeah, so like, so I spent a couple $100 to test it, and then I just organized maybe like 10 of my friends, or people that I knew that like work for me and like whatever. I asked them if they would all watch it and share it and comment on it all around the same time. I wanted, because there's some algorithm, and you know what, the algorithms are always changing. So I don't take my, I am not, I'm not the
Nice.
expert.
But that's smart.
Yeah,
Organic, set up the foundation, get it launched right with all the most momentum possible. So when you do have adverts behind it, you're getting the best justification for your marketing dollars.
yeah, exactly. We did not spend a lot of, like, because I don't do this professionally and I wasn't making any money on it. It wasn't something that I wanted to put a bunch of money. It made no sense, but um, I had a really great organic interactive audience. I have like 5,000 Facebook friends, right? On my personal Facebook.
Mhm.
So I launched it on my personal and my business, which are linked, and it was really awesome. And it's amazing. I can't even believe it. I don't think I got a single negative comment. Not that there's anything wrong with getting that. I think that's expected, but I literally didn't, which was amazing. I mean, there were a couple guys that said like, F China or something like that, some dumb stuff, but nothing like directly to me. And it was the most amazing thing. I actually saved like probably like 30 to 50 comments that were like just so beautiful, where the person was like, and I actually made genuine connections, which was awesome. And I think it positively impacted my business too, because it made me more real as a person to a lot of people. So I have now people that literally comment on my posts every day or write me messages literally daily or every week at least, because they're, a fan from my video and they follow me on all my financial stuff. And then, when I started, I think I had just gotten on Instagram. I think I've been on Instagram for about 6 months.
Mhm.
Um, and I have almost 80,000 followers now. But I think when I released the video, I had like uh, maybe 2 or 3.
Wow.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
Insane.
how do you attribute the attribution to Instagram? How did that just carry over into follows? Did you?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that I do. I've put out like, finance videos and stuff, and I've constantly been creating content and trying to add value. And I talk to people and I survey them, and I try to be, I would say how I am on my social media is how I am in life. I'm very fast in how I communicate, and you can always reach out to me. I'm very accessible and I will respond to anything. I mean, I'm not going to respond to negative or like whatever, that sort of stuff. But like if someone is reaching out to me or they're saying something positive or they're asking me a question, I always get back like super, super fast. And I've always been that type of person. That's how I am in life. So how I am in life really translates to my social media. And I feel like that's a lot of why I've been able to make that traction and grow over time, and then I do have assistants that do help me channel some of my traffic. I had a lot of people going to my website, following me on Facebook,
There you
uh,
go.
a little bit to YouTube. My YouTube is like whatever. I haven't really focused on it very much, but I definitely got subscribers as a result of that. So on my YouTube channel, I have a playlist that's specifically just my my music stuff, which is not very much. It's got like a couple of videos on it because I haven't really done a lot with it.
Well, here's the thing, Zoe.
Yeah.
I'm a musician, original artist, and I've been doing it since I was 15 years old. I'm 37. Mike was actually my first producer when I was 17.
Oh yeah.
First
And
taskmaster.
Taskmaster whipped me in the shit. So I've put in a lot of time into
Mhm.
music, and to see somebody like yourself, and I'm not a hater at all, so this is something that's pretty inspirational. Put out a cover that's meaningful to you and speaks to your heart, and then being able to speak to the community like that and get the traction you've got, and then catapult your even take one platform at a time. You can't just appease every single platform. You got to just do
Yeah.
one and the other and try to encompass everything, but you're doing it right. And that's inspirational to me as an artist, and it just shows you I'm not like too good to do a cover. It's just something I just never really did. But when something's trending and you see it, it's like, oh, maybe I should do a cover of that. Or you just like a cover and it speaks to you, and there's an audience for that, and you actually made that connection, which is pretty impressive. So you know, it's like, it's getting me thinking. It's like, wow, look at this girl. She came out with that song and she's got way more traction on that one song than I have on anything that I've ever put out. And what I have to put out is pretty damn good. It's subjective and objective, but it's just the point that if you take something that's already been done, you just make a better mousetrap. And I think and then you're not trying to do anything. You're just going from your heart and you're finding an audience, and that song was huge, and you put them all together and it makes a great melting pot. And this is where it really was impressive. I've always wondered like how I tie my business with my artistry. And this show is the reason why I'm doing that.
Yeah.
However, kudos to you. That is very impressive. And that's when Mike was telling me about you, and I saw you commenting on our posts and such. And I was like, yeah, this girl's pretty impressive. She's got a lot of value to offer. I think a lot of people would find value in what she has to say. So good for you. And where are you at now with your, doing that? Did that inspire you to do something else? Do you have another idea? You want to do another song? You want to do your own music?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. Mike, like, so I love Mike. Mike and I have known each other now for a couple of years, and we met through finance, and we've helped some people together, and we have mutual friends in common. And he's really, I mean, I'm such a huge supporter of what you guys are doing, and that's why
Thanks.
I'm like one of your number one fans, commenting on your, your posts and trying to, keep up to date with things. And, and vice versa. I mean, really, honestly, Mike is one of my biggest supporting kind of friends on this subject. And he's a huge cheerleader for me. And he's definitely pushed me to, to connect up with, songwriting and learn and get better, because I'm not, I have talent, but I'm not like, I don't know. It's all relative, right? It's all relative because like you can compare yourself to some major artists out there and you can say, well, I'm about there or I'm way nowhere near that, because there's people at varying different levels of skill and ability, right?
That's what take the level you're at, do what
Yeah.
you and then and go back to it and make it better. And somebody like Mike is brutally honest without trying to hurt your feelings at the same time. But it's good to have that perspective and being able to apply that constructive criticism, because it's all constructive at the end of the day. It's how you take it. And music is so personal. It's art. So when somebody comments on something, like even yesterday, we're talking about something I was working on, and he's like, well, bro, like it's at 120 BPMs, beats per minute. It needs to be, it's not even 120. It's like faster than that. It needs to be at 70. I'm like, eh. He's like, yeah, you can't just record piano. You need to do like a MIDI controller. And he started getting very technical. So I went, reapproached the whole thing. It didn't even get any sleep last night because I was just doing it. And who knows what's going to happen with it. But at the same point, it made me think. It kind of brought things. So we bounce ideas off each other. And then he sends me his stuff. And I'm like, yo, dude, the drums need to be like way, way better. And then he went back, found a way to make the drums sound really good, and then sent it to me. And I'm like, whoa, that sounds fucking great. And that's how we work. We bounce shit off each other just to make each other better, but we're not trying to fucking sway anybody from not doing what they're passionate about.
Yeah. So, let's go back to the little point you made a little while ago about kind of finding your friction point of, living within your means versus living for your dreams. When you talk about yourself as being someone who obviously, right, I can say is financially independent due to her efforts at work, and lives to work versus works to live, where does that leave you in the sense that how do you balance like your dreams? Because obviously when you have a successful business and the balance can get a little bit out of whack, and you kind of maybe get adrift from that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no such thing as work-life balance. It's just not a thing.
Thank you. It's all bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because even with okay, financially, sure, I can throw a lot of money into something like this. I have my own barriers, like your own worst critic, or
Imperfect action, Zoe. Imperfect action. You took that though.
Yeah, totally. Like, I feel like I kind of balance there's a little bit of a perfectionist side to me, like, but not so much that I'm not willing to kind of put myself out there a little bit. But yeah, so I'm working on another cover. I'm probably going to get, I've started taking some lessons, some vocal lessons, which is always great. And then I'll probably be working you know, connecting up with like a producer and a songwriter at some point to kind of, take it to the next level. I've got some other ideas, some other things that are brewing, just based off of, the fan base and the connections that I made from my cover. I really can launch something on the side. So I'm pretty happy about that. I think the things that I like about what I do is very similar to the things that I really like about connecting with people through music. And so I like them both. And I don't feel like we have to be defined by what we do for a job. We can be who we are. And what I've really liked about, the way that I've decided to approach my social media platforms and so forth is really show people all sides. I've had people actually, tell me that I was wrong, or, tell me that I'm confusing because I'm not just, some people are very like only one message on their platforms. And I'm, like some people are like, Zoe, we don't know if you're a fashion model one day and a singer the next, or, because I love, showing like, this is my outfit. This is my
you get the financial EGOT. So you're a financial person.
I think
Emmy, Grammy, Oscar.
I'm just doing me. I'm just doing me. So like, whatever, like, I'm sure I can take some of that some of that criticism can be constructive and be a little bit more clear on some of my messaging. But like, I mean, that's what I'm trying to show people. I'm like, yeah, I like sunglasses and I wear hats. No, I'm just joking.
Honestly, like, here's the thing: there's branding, and then there's marketing, and micro niching your audience out, and certain campaigns that you put out that you're actually going to put money into or are going to target certain people. But when it's organic, it's going to hit, a multitude of people that may not understand, but it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, you're being you and you're branding yourself and you're showing people what you like and what you're doing. So I'm not trying to implore you to start your own podcast, but that's something that, you talk about the things that you're passionate about. It doesn't matter. It's not like, oh, I don't know if you're a fashion lady or a financial lady or a musician. You're all of that. And then you're connecting with that audience and you're resonating with that audience.
Well, I think too.
Look at this whole encompassing person here. I love it. I mean,
but I think to feed to that point of like, nothing against the people that are around Zoe and I, or kind of look up to Zoe. Not so much I, because for certain reasons, but the thing is that, well, I think people view me because of my market, because of everything else. I'm a little bit of a rock star. I can cowboy it sometimes, so it's not exactly what fits the mold of everything else around us. But the thing is that people want to put things in a nice, neat little box. And it might not always be the right box, because that's what they think. What you've defined for yourself, and the purpose and truth that you believe in for yourself is yours and yours alone. And it's the rest of them,
And those people that say that,
take a hike,
profile, and then see what they're doing and be like, okay, they're just whatever, and just keep doing what you're doing and calibrating as you do it. So
how was the Walmart greeting job? Anyway,
well, listen, we need those people to work it.
I know. No, I mean, those are a lot of the people that Zoe works on saving when she talks about the senior population that she does work with. I mean, that's one of the things that we work very strongly towards, is that people later on in life have the education and the ability to save now, so that they don't have, so they can live their life by their own terms.
Zoe, I think
there's a saying: people do not plan to fail, they fail to plan.
Oh yeah.
That is a quote that I'm very familiar with. So your story with your dad, and I don't want to make it this emotional or tug at your heartstrings. I think there's a story of twins. The brothers, they had an alcoholic dad. The dad, rubbed off on the one twin, and the one twin ended up being exactly like the dad, but the other twin looked at the situation and said, I don't ever want to be like this. And I think you're that person, and it's really takes, especially at a young age, to take, and your trials and tribulations, everybody has them, that you go through to overcome that, and just to keep going via your transformation physically, mentally, and to get through that with the paradigm from when you were little of watching your dad struggle, and I've watched it too, and that, you know, I've learned more what not to do for my parents than what to do any
Yeah.
day of the week. And I remember my dad be like, "You're going to be just like your uncle," and I remember I'm like, "Nobody likes him. Why are you saying that to me? I'm like 6," and I
Yeah.
remember being like, "I'm never going to be like that guy," and I did.
I think also the trifecta of people sitting on the Zoom call right now, all of our parents came from a generation that,
With the baby boomers.
yeah, used used intimidation, fear, and everything else to keep people in line. And
Well, it worked for me, but it doesn't work.
yeah, it doesn't work for me.
So for Zoe, she took it and she's like, "I never want to do that." And look at her now. It's like she made sure that she didn't have to go through that situation. Inspirational. Truly, truly.
Truly.
Yeah, thank
So
you.
you can't say that the song that you're gonna cover next. Are you gonna? I mean, is it, you could.
We're gonna keep it secret for now. We'll just have to see.
No, she's gonna do. I think, you know, I send Zoe new music that she's never heard before all the time.
What, like Amon or Marth?
No, 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 no. That's a little bit out of her wheelhouse. No, no, no Viking metal, but like one of my favorite bands is Highly Suspect,
Yeah, you love.
and I was like, dude, you got to hear this record. And like, I played her the one with Young Thug or Young Jeezy's on it. Anyway, it's like, you know, say trust in God's plan. Well, fuck this, fuck that, and fuck God's plan. And it's one of the greatest songs ever, because it's like, you know what, man? And the chorus is, you know, I'm gonna light up the world, like I'm gonna tear it up. So tear shit up.
It's awesome.
I think you have definitely done that, kiddo, is tore shit up. So
I love it.
By the way, I am so jelly of your hair because I'm a bald guy.
everybody's saying that lately about you, Zoe.
My brother does. Our relationship has gone a little south since I've went bald at 24. I'm 37, and I use this hair product, and it worked. I got my hair back, but it was like it's too. I can't, too intensive. I have to use it all day, every day, and if I miss it, I start losing my hair immediately. So, but when I did get it back, he's like, "Oh my God, Greg, I'm gonna give you some haircuts. Come over again." Oh, I'm so happy about this. Oh my God. And then I started.
Hey, listen, you can just embrace the sexy and just go all Vin Diesel. You know, I can see you've got muscles, so you can pull it off. And at least, you know, I mean, at least you got that. And, you know, it's an easy fix, you know.
That's like
I,
a
there's a lot, I mean, there's a lot of wealthy people like Elon Musk and a lot of people that I know in my industry. Not that expensive. You can buy yourself hair. Financial independence, baby.
But Bezos just went, you know what? I'm going Lex Luthor.
Yeah,
I'm lucky because I'm still young and I'm half Asian as well, which I think is good aging genes. So I haven't had any work done yet. However, there's this saying, you know, you're not ugly, you're just poor. So sorry.
Oh my God.
I know,
dude,
you
that's
are beautiful.
hilarious.
I'm all about body positivity, of course. Yeah, but I also am not judgy if people want to do stuff. I've had a lot of friends that are already doing, you know, preventative Botox and stuff, and I'm just like, the only thing that I don't like to see is when people do so much work on themselves because they feel like they have to versus they just want to. I mean, you're a master of your own universe, no matter what your religious beliefs are. I believe that, you know, if you want to change the way you live, go ahead, you know. But I just don't like to see it when it's emotionally connected to something that comes from a dark place.
Well,
You know?
yeah, and I mean, when people, I think that, you know, it's a great point to touch on. I think, you know, your outside is the mask of what you possess inside. And the thing is that, like, I feel like there are artists out there that like literally actually Highly Suspect's a great fucking example. All their songs are about either drugs, suicide, or whatever Johnny's going through, so it seems. And the thing is that I feel like there's a lot of people out there who want to chase trends and chase what the curve is. And, you know, with that said, you know, I think that authenticity, back to that point, is so super important. So if you feel you need to change something, change something. Amy Cates, my friend, is really big into the whole beautification thing.
Mm.
And she literally, we've had long conversations about this. And, you know, she's like, I really believe it's okay for people to go get plastic surgery, whether it's preventative Botox, like she was talking about, or whatever. You know, her point is that if you start doing some of that preventative stuff now, like whether you had a coach at the gym, you know, trainer at the gym or in finances, the thing is that you will actually do yourself a service of health, whether it's mentally, physically, or whatever. But she agrees with what Zoe's saying, is that, you know, when you start cutting on yourself and making yourself look like a cat lady at 32 with irreversible damage because of those surgeries, then you got problems.
Yeah, I think you take it. Some people like the one of I don't know. I never watched.
The worst is when they start getting look like waxy, like
Yeah.
an apple,
or a burn
because
victim,
or a burn victim, because they're
like Bruce Jenner. Like he looked like a burn victim.
It's Caitlyn Jenner,
right?
to
She
you.
looked like a burn victim for.
Thank you.
I think we are in the age of body positivity. I mean, I don't think people should push it to a point where it's okay to be super unhealthy or something like that. But the point is, like, love yourself and don't feel like you have to change for someone else, you know?
Yep. Change for you.
Yeah, and you know, I think the sexiest thing about anybody is confidence. Confidence in the way you treat people as well, like being secure and, you know, outgoing and caring and loving and stuff. That's really, I mean, I've seen people that physically on the outside look just fine, but then they open their mouths and it ruins everything, you know? And then on the other side too, you could see someone that doesn't really seem like much, but then you start talking to them and you're like, wow, that's a really cool person and they look beautiful to you. So I feel like that's really a real, I think everyone is like that truly. I mean, even the people that don't seem like that, it really does come down to real human interaction, connection, personality. You know, we say it a lot, but it's actually true. You know, looks only go so far anyway. We all get old eventually.
Yep.
You know?
It's something for me. Just my friends, like I'm being in a band and taking pictures and stuff like that, and then you know having different personalities and characters in the band that don't really take care of themselves physically. It never mattered to me. You know, I know when you're a front person, it's a little more.
Yeah.
But not to me either. It's more about like the camaraderie between brotherhood and like just capturing that chemistry that you have, and more than just you know, you need to look cooler, man. I mean, don't wear freaking cargo shorts on stage, but otherwise, you know, I think we're pretty good, like being brothers.
There is public relations, be your best self, you know, if you're selling that, you know, there's some part of that for sure. But things get a little less cray, I'll have to make a trip out to LA.
Yeah, dude, we'll have to hang out, get lunch or something.
I want Korean barbecue bad.
Yummy.
Oh no,
I don't have any. There's like one or two places out here, and my grandma went on strike when she hit 80, and she hasn't been cooking since. I have kalbi marinating in my fridge right now, but it's not the same. It's not the same.
So your grandmother went on strike at 80. I'll have to remember that.
She's like, no more. Sorry, I don't cook.
In 35 years, I'll go.
Yeah.
Dude, always a pleasure, and thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Always awesome.
Learned a lot.
Yeah, a ton. F ton.
Now I really want to go work harder.
Awesome.
I swear to God, great. No, just kidding. So thanks so much, and we'll talk soon. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take care. She's awesome. Thank you for bringing her on.
Yeah, no, of course, man. I think that, you know, the point she makes with the different things going on in the world, and also how she approaches her business, I think is super important. I think it's super important for musicians to see, you know, it's called the music business, not music romper room fun time.
Right. It's,
you know,
the fact that she was, you know, grown up with performing arts around her, and just, again, decided to do a cover and then speak to her things that she's connecting with and seeing around in the world, and then connecting with community, and then to have that resonate with what she put out in one shot, versus somebody like me, my whole fucking career, if you call it that, to make it pop like that, and to get the traffic she's getting. And did you hear what she said? She said her Instagram was like 2 or 3 people. right?
Yeah, in
And
the beginning, and now it's 80,000 people. I mean, she hustles at that, dude.
sure, but I
Hustles.
mean, that video also helped her catapult that, and then she probably just went off of the momentum of that, and then she got into the algorithm, and it caught that algorithm, and now it's just taking
Yeah.
life of its own.
Yep. Totally. Well, man, this was a good episode.
It sure was. Is there any sponsors that you want to throw out there right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some things that we should talk about around the camp. We're growing as a nation. The Combine Nation's growing, and there's some things. There's some really amazing guests coming up in the next month or so. That yesterday, and we filmed this at the end of June, so it's probably changed by the time, and you guys probably know about it already by the time you hear this. But it's we're growing as a movement, as a podcast, and it really puts a smile on my face because our hard work is paying off.
And we love connecting with you guys out there, and we love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Subscribe to our YouTube. You'll have all the links with this episode and with the past episodes that we put up. Join the mailing list and be part of the exclusive content that we're putting together some really awesome stuff that people that
where is that, by the way, Greg?
That's www.themusiccombine.com.
Yes, go check out our site. Also check out our Teespring store, which is
that's right on the site. So you just go to our site and you'll
go straight to the link at Teespring. Yeah,
and
we have a bunch of stuff out there. The thing is that this is starting to cost us money to actually put together, and we don't take any profit from it, Greg or I. We basically keep it running so we can keep giving value back to you guys. So the way we're going to do it is through merchandise. And if you want a shirt for our famous hashtag DBD, don't be a dick, go get it.
Yep, and the leggings are for the women. I think they're.
Oh yeah, we have Lululemon style leggings. It's pretty fun.
Lululemon
style leggings.
Cool.
Not that I'm buying off of Lululemon, nor are they a sponsor of the show, but it's that.
Right, but they're comparable, right?
Yep.
So hell yeah, thank you, and
yeah,
Mikey, I'll talk to you on the other side.
Yeah, and then also, well, before we get off here, next week's episode, Crush Karma, stick to it, man. This wasn't so much an artist episode, but next week's episode, yikes. They are the coolest people you'll ever meet. They're doing it with 2 people where you would do it with 4.
Right, and they're married, right?
Yeah, we'll let them talk about that when they're on the show.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, which is really cool. So anyway, if you're a couple, you're playing music together, you're probably going to want to listen to that episode.
You're going to want to listen to this.
But anyway. All right, guys.
Peace.
Fine out.